Welcome to Satsang. So beautiful to be together with everyone. We start, as always, with one of the questions that comes in advance from our online, internet-based audience and family. And then we open it up to any questions that anyone here might have. So there's a microphone right here in the center. If anyone has any questions, just feel free to come up to the mic and you can ask them. But first we start with just one that's come to us from the online family. How can I connect with and honor the wisdom of the ancient yogis and sages? And this is asked by David on the website. How to connect with and honor the wisdom of the ancient yogis and sages. The sages and the yogis and the mystics, they gave us their wisdom. They gave us their wisdom in the form of Shastra, scriptures. They gave us their wisdom in the form of commentary on scriptures. They gave their wisdom in the form of so many books, teachings, Yoga Sutras. I mean, so many. If you look at all of the wealth that we have of insights, of teachings, of truths, from philosophy to meditation to yoga, it's been given to us by the sages and the saints and the rishis in the Himalayas who have passed it down for us. So the best way to honor something that someone gives you is to use it, right? I mean, think about it. If you cook a meal for someone and someone says, what's the best way to honor this meal that you've cooked? You'd say, well, eat it for God's sakes before it gets cold. Eat it up, enjoy it. Pay attention while you eat. Don't watch TV, don't be on your phone. Don't eat it so fast that, you end up with gas and a stomach ache. Eat it nicely, eat it well, chew the food. Eat as much as you can. If you paint something, or you sculpt something, or you write something for someone and you give it to them, what's the best way for them to honor that? They look at it every day. They put it somewhere in their house where they can keep looking at it every day. In their bedroom, in their living room, where they keep seeing it. They frame it. They keep reading it. They keep it on their bedside. The best way to honor something that someone gives us is to pay attention to it, to celebrate it, and to use it in whatever way it was meant to be used. Wisdom is meant to be used. There's no one I know who's a teacher of wisdom who just wants people in the audience to go, wow, 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 that's so great, kya baat hai, wonderful. Because unless you're doing it just for your own ego or just for show, those things, that's not what you want. That's not why you're giving your time to do it. You're giving it because you want it to impact people. You want people to hear what you say, to take it in, to use it to understand things that they couldn't understand before, to use it to live their lives in a different way, to think in a different way, to love more deeply. You want the wisdom you give them to change them for the better. So the best way to honor the wisdom that the sages and the saints and the yogis gave us is, first of all, read it carefully, pay attention, then think about what you've read, and then implement it in your lives. That's why they gave it to you. Use that wisdom to become free. Free of all of the ways that we are stuck, free of ignorance, free of suffering, free of attachment and expectation. Use the wisdom. It's the very best way to honor them. Don't just keep the book on your altar and bow to it every day. Right? It doesn't work like that. You actually have to read it. I know sometimes when I travel, I'll stick my daily vitamins in my purse, thinking I'm going to remember to take them. And I always laugh that, I never remember to take them, and I always laugh that somehow, even knowing that I'm not going to remember to take them, I stick them in my purse anyway, as though somehow being in my purse is going to somehow benefit me. You don't benefit from vitamins in your purse. In the same way, you don't benefit from books sitting on a nightstand or a mandir or a shelf or in your purse unless you read them. I have to take the vitamins to benefit. You have to read the books to benefit. So read them, digest them, think about them, and allow the wisdom to percolate in you and to really change you. Yeah, great. Questions here? Any question that anyone here has? Come, yes. And then you. First her, then you. Namaste.
My question is about how we are in service for so long, and we are taking care of people and groups and everything, and we forget about ourselves. So I'd like you to speak to how do we bring it back to us, but not feel like we are taking away from others. Thank you.
Sure. It's a great question. You realize that you are not separate from others? And you realize that in the deepest way, you can't actually serve someone well if you don't have that which you're giving. Meaning, you can feed someone. You can make sandwiches and feed people, whatever mood you might be in. And it will fill their stomachs. And that is a good thing. But on a deep spiritual level, I can only be a bringer of peace in the world, of love in the world, if I am full of love and peace. If I'm full of anger and frustration and ignorance and arrogance and resentments, how am I going to bring peace and love to the world? Right? It's like these lights can only bring us light as long as they've got a good bulb and it works and it hasn't been burned out. and as long as they are plugged in. If it's burned out or not connected, it could be the most expensive piece of light equipment in the world, and it is utterly useless. It is no more useful than a pillar. Same thing for us. If I'm metaphorically burned out, exhausted, not connected, I'm not going to be able to give to the world. So you've got to take care of yourself in such a way that you are serving from a place that's full. And you're gonna find what you need. I mean, on the one hand, we all have to make sure that our bodies are healthy. If the body's sick, what are you gonna do? So you make sure that you're eating well and sleeping well and exercising and getting some time in nature and all of the things that, we need, just kind of bare minimum level. But then you also start to ask yourself, what do I need on a spiritual level to feel full? Most of us need some time each day of meditation. Even though we, aim to make our lives meditation, we aim to make every action meditation. Nonetheless, we need some period of time each day, ideally at least twice, once in the morning, once in the evening, in what I call your eyes closed, seated in a dark room practice, right? It's the literal, like, here I am, my eyes are closed, I'm in a dark room, my legs are crossed practice. And most of us need that. So you fill that, and then you serve. The pendulum swing to the other direction is one that I have not seen to be beneficial. The pendulum is swinging in a lot of conversations, especially in the West, around the sort of self-indulgence that we're almost made to feel guilty if we do not subscribe to. That somehow, if you are not fully indulging every sense, in every moment, if you are not fully milking the joy that every moment has to offer, and I don't mean the joy that is in your heart, I mean the joy that you get through eating food, dancing in clubs, having sex, buying things, that external things of the world, that somehow you are not fulfilling that which you have the potential to fulfill. That's not a perspective that I tend to agree with from pure personal experience. Like, I spent kind of 25 years of my life doing that. I know a lot of people who do that, for whom most of their life is dedicated to self-fulfillment. And again, I don't mean on the deepest level of spirit. Spirituality becomes the justification. But really what it is much more is kind of nicely packaged decadence. And there's nothing wrong with an occasional moment of self-indulgence, but as a practice, as a spiritual practice, I have yet to see anyone that it actually works for. Whereas I cannot tell you the numbers I have seen who have been enlightened, transformed through the practice of service. And it's also what, if you look at all of the religions, not just Hinduism, not just Sanatana Dharma, but you look at, the mystics of all of the religions we have. And so many of them, their teachings are all around simplicity and service, simplicity and service, simplicity and service. So yes, we have in Hinduism all of that as well, but the point is it's not only Hinduism. So I tend, from what I've experienced and from what I've seen and learned, to follow the path that to the extent I can find my joy, find my nourishment in a service of others that is not from a place of separation, but a place of oneness. That's what I want to do. And it fills me with much, much more joy than anything else. And actually, interestingly, science backs this up. They've done lots of studies around altruism and happiness, where they go in and they take groups of subjects, 100 graduate students in some university, or 500 graduate students, however many their sample size is. And they give all of them a certain amount of money, $50, let's say. And half of them, they say, you need to take this money and spend it only on yourself. You can do whatever you want, buy whatever you want, but you cannot give this money to someone else. Go to the movies, go shopping, go on a little day spa, do whatever you want to do, but you've got to spend the money on yourself, on something that's going to make you happy. And the other group, they say, you cannot spend 1 penny of this on yourself. You have to spend it on others. You can give it away. You can buy food and give the food away. You can buy blankets and give the blankets away. You can do whatever you want, but it has to be something for someone else. And what they have found over and over and over again in every population they've done it with, every situation they've done it with, is the second group always is much, much, much happier at the end of the day and a week later than the first group. That idea of spending just a day on myself doesn't actually bring the happiness that we think it will. And that the real happiness actually, science has shown us, what the sages told us, is it actually comes in service. But again, you've got to have the resources. And in the study, the resource was the $50 to give. In your daily life, your resource is your energy, your love, your peace, your time, your abilities. So you've got to make sure that those are replenished. Yeah, wonderful. Yes.
Very good evening to you. A thing of beauty is joy forever, and your kind words, full of wisdom, made me feel so. So I just could not control myself as to ask a query, a question, a burning topic in my life as of now. I won't go very relevant with it, but what I want to, say it in very few words to you is, I know you can connect and you will be able to understand also what I want to say. That is how to connect with the present generation in all so many ways, where there's so much of misery, sorrow, pain, agony, one kind of pessimism is there. How as we elders can connect with them and make them understand the true philosophy of life. Thank you so much.
How to connect with, when you say present generation, you mean our youth? Yes. how to connect with them and make them understand. The first and most important piece to realize is our children follow what we do, not what we say. To the extent that we are living lives that are deep, that are rich, that are anchored and grounded spiritually, and that bring us joy, they will follow that. Not 100% of the time. I know there are rare occasions, but in general, if children are raised with that, not just in show, not just in front of the neighbors, but actually, that is what they will follow. The dilemma arises when we want our children to do something that may be what we believe in our minds, but isn't exactly how we act. And so, for example, we have parents who come in and say, I don't know how to make my kids be honest. They keep lying to me. We are such good and honest people, they like. And the kids tell us, and the kids are very open. If the parents say it in front of the kids right there will say, since the time we were young, since the time we could speak, our parents have been having us lie to everybody who calls about where they are. You're going to meet somebody for dinner, you're running late, phone rings. You tell your kid, "Acha usko le lo, tell them ki hum log rasta pe hain. Mummy drive kar rahe rasta pe." And then we wonder why our kids grow up telling lies. We have to model what we want them to have. We teach them spiritual values, but then we're sitting in the car coming home from a wedding. And what are we doing? We're talking with our husband or our wife or the other friends maybe in the car or on the phone about, oh my God, did you see my God? She wore the same sari she wore last week. Or, my God, did you see those diamond earrings she had? Amazing. We become so superficial, so gossipy. And then we tell our children, you are not the body, you are soul, you are spirit. And every time they see us stand in front of the mirror, they hear us say, oh my God, I'm so fat, I have to lose weight. Don't let me eat any more sweets. We have to be in alignment, our actions, our words, with what we're teaching them. Otherwise, they will most definitely learn not what we teach them, but what we show them. They will grow to do what we do, not what we teach them. They follow what we do. I remember when I was growing up, a friend of mine's father used to say to her all the time, do as I say, not as I do. He would sit, they had this beautiful backyard with a beautiful patio and a railing that overlooked a swimming pool. But it was quite high up, and he used to like to sit on the ledge. And I remember one time she got up on the ledge and he shouted, get down. And she said, but Papa, you sit up there every day. And he said, do as I say, not as I do. Now, he meant it well. He was worried, you should not sit up there, it's dangerous. But I remember her later laughing and saying to me, yeah, right. Nobody's going to do that. We're going to do exactly what they do. So the way to bring our children on a spiritual path or a path of righteousness is to actually live it and to live it joyfully. That it's not oh, today's a holiday, so I have to be vegetarian. Or today's some holiday, so I can't have wine with my dinner. And then we wonder why the kids are eating meat and drinking alcohol. You know, we have to live the teachings in a way that is full and real and deep and connected. And our kids will learn that, because our kids have got one thing. With every passing generation, the internal BS meter gets better and better. We might have been fooled a little bit by our parents might have been fooled a little bit more by their parents. There was a little bit more acceptance of just because I say so, right? You would say to your parents, why? They would say, because I say so. And you would take it. Our parents took it from their parents much more. This generation, no such luck. Why? Because I say so. It's not going to fly. You better have a reason. And you better have a reason that makes sense. Not something because I say so, because it doesn't look nice, because it's our culture, because it's wrong, because it's right. Their BS meter has a red flag. Every time you say one of these things, that red flag goes up and says, they have no idea why. They have no good reason. They're just trying to control my life. And then they go in the other direction. Be careful about the rules you give them and the teachings you give them. If you don't have a reason for something, don't make them do it. Just because you had to do something doesn't mean that they have to do it. Maybe you were more obedient, maybe your parents didn't have reasons, but you followed. But only give them instructions, rules, teachings. Jisme dam hai, that actually have some meaning behind it. And if you don't know the meaning, find out. There's so much in Sanatan Dharma. There's so much in our philosophy that is so deep. But a lot of people don't know the reasons, and so they can't give the reasons. And so then the youth turn away because it seems like it's just superstition, or it's just ritual. Why do we do parikrama? Why do we wear tilak? Why do we do pranam? Why are we vegetarians? Why this? Why? If you don't know the answers to those questions in a way that is compelling and interesting and meaningful, learn it. There's beautiful reasons for all of these things that we do. It's not just ritual. And it gives you the opportunity to learn so that you can share with your youth. But only share things with them that actually mean something to you. Teach them things that mean something to you. If it means something to you, it will mean something to them. That's the right type of philosophy. It's not about show and tell. It's not about how many mantras can they chant when the neighbors come over. Right? You see that a lot with parents. Pujya Swamiji and I will be somewhere and they're like, mantra ga, mantra, sunao, 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 Swamiji ko sunao. And parents become very happy if their kids can recite the mantras. And it's wonderful. Assuming that the kids want to be reciting the mantras. But if you have put them under some kind of duress and pressure, कि जब तक ये मंत्र नहीं सुनाओगे वो तो कोई dessert नहीं मिलेगा, जरा ठीक से सुनाओ स्वामी जी के लिए, नहीं तो ये नहीं होगा, वो नहीं होगा, then it becomes work for them. It's under duress. And then, yeah, maybe they chanted a mantra beautifully. Maybe Pujya Swamiji was super impressed. But for the rest of their life, they will associate mantras with headache. They will associate mantras with deprivation. It's not what you want. They should embrace these things with joy, not because you punish them if they don't do it, but because you show them the benefit of it. Beautiful. Yes. Ji Maharaji.
First of all, I'd like to bow down to the good Lord within you and Swamiji Maharaj. And when I heard that you're back from Stanford, I wanted to say that we're from your neighborhood. Our temples are in San Mateo and Stockton area and Sacramento area. And we are basically pretty much quite a bit around the world also.
Wonderful.
And I'm a Jagat Guru of Suravanshi Akhada, and I've got Mahamandaleshwara, Guru mine here too, and Sahika Devi Indrani ji, who has given a chance to sing a song and bhajan of Shri Ram today. My question in here is actually like a statement also. From the time that I've come here, जब से हम आए यहाँ पर इतना प्यार, गेट पर भी प्यार मिला, जो मिले उनसे प्यार मिला, लोगों में प्यार मिला, भगवान जी की मूर्तियों में प्यार मिला, हमारे धर्म के वृक्ष को देखें तो प्यार ही प्यार मिला वहाँ से, और आशीर्वाद मिला, आसन मिला, और कोई भी भाग दौड़ नहीं जो नॉर्मली होता है हमारे देश में। हमारा ये है कि सारे हमारा जो भारत देश है एक भाग दौड़ के जगह बिल्कुल इस तरह से प्यार हो जाए कि जहाँ पर हम कुछ ले जा सके यहाँ से। So we have gotten a lot of love from here, and you have spoken very sweet. We have listened to you many, many times. Today was the first day that the Lord brought us here. And हमारे पूजनीय Swamiji Maharaj, I briefly met him in Kashi Aarti long time ago. There was a word that he said, a country that he said was Fiji Islands. So me and Guruma, we are from Fiji Islands.
Wonderful.
And my father was from Nandagaon, Bridge, where we're doing an ashram out there too. Indrani is an American, so from USA, but in preaching and everything else. So my question is that so much of love, patience, harmony, nectar that all of you have given, so should I take it in a 44-gallon drum and drink it like teaspoon each until I come back? What do I do? There's so much of love that all of you have shared in here, and I think it's where you are uplifted. And the bigger question is, even having so many things in the USA and everywhere, I personally feel like just staying here for the rest of my life. To main kya karu? Hari Om.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm so glad that you feel all of that love here. That's really the aim. That is the aim, is to share and spread love. And whether that love takes the form of a meal for someone who's hungry, or that love takes the form of a school for kids who don't have access to education, or that love takes the form of medical care for people who don't have access to medical care, or the love takes the form of satsang or Ganga Arati. That's our aim. And so I'm so glad that you feel that. In terms of, do you stay here or do you go back? I'm probably not the best person to ask that question to, since I came for a week 28 years ago. But I will say that people frequently say, you know, God, it's amazing she stayed, it's amazing you stay. And I always say, it's actually amazing to me that anyone leaves from here. Staying to me doesn't seem amazing at all. The idea that you could actually leave, that seems to me to be amazing. So, and yet, clearly you have duties and dharma and responsibility and a samaj depending on you in different parts of the world. So I would say, just know that this is also your home, and you go out and you do your work, and then you come home. So some people go out, 9 to 5. They go in the morning, they come in the evening. Some people with a longer commute. I know people who live in one city for the weekends, and then they live in the suburbs in the weekend and the city in the weekday. Monday morning they go out into the city and they return to their home in the suburbs on Friday night. And maybe for you, you go out for a few months and you do your work and then you come back. And then you go out and you do your work and then you come back. Yes. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yes.
By faith, I am stone Sanatani. I worship God, I am idol worshipper. I worship also various manifestations of nature, like Ganga Aarti I did today. I also do meditate, but I am lost somewhere. Whether there is any connect between the two, I am not able to find. I do meditation. I want to intermingle it with the worshipping, my worshipping to God, the Hindu gods.
So, meditation and puja, meditation and worship, are actually two different aspects of what we call sadhana.
So whether there is any connect, and
Okay.
if there is any connect, how could it be achieved?
Beautiful, beautiful. So there's definitely a connection, and they are different practices. When we worship God, whether I am worshiping God in the form of Bhagwan Krishna or Shankar Bhagwan, or I'm worshiping God in the form of nature, or I'm performing a yagna ceremony, whatever way I am worshiping, I am playing the role of worshiper, of devotee, and I am worshiping the divine. Whether I'm worshiping Kalpavriksha, whether I'm worshiping Bhagwan Ram, either way, I am the worshiper, I am the lover, and they are the beloved. They are the object of my devotion, of my love, of my worship. There are two of us. I feel connected, I love, but we're separate. Connected, but separate. Two distinct beings, connected by love, but separate. In the same way that you love your wife, you love your kids, you're deeply connected, but you stay two separate individual beings. There's you and there's her. In the same way, there is you and there is Bhagwan. और आप भगवान का पूजा कर रहे हैं, प्रार्थना कर रहे हैं. Beautiful. This is the tradition of bhakti. In meditation, now there's a lot of forms of meditation, but in most of the forms of meditation, it is actually an opportunity to experience oneness rather than duality. Meditation is much more an experience of non-duality. Now, that doesn't mean that you couldn't do a meditation on love for Krishna. Of course you could. Of course you could. You could sit in front of an image of Bhagwan Krishna, or just have the image of Bhagwan Krishna in your mind and meditate on him. But most techniques of meditation that most people practice are much more rooted in a non-dual aspect. We practice meditations on awareness, on mindfulness, of just being the witness. Just the witness. Pure awareness. I am witnessing love flowing from my heart, but I'm not the love. Just witnessing it. I'm witnessing anger, but I'm not the anger. Just pure witnessing. Or a practice of meditation that is anchored in who am I? Who am I? Ko-ham, so-ham. Neti-neti, aham brahmasmi. All of these different ways and mool mantras that we go into meditation, they're ways of experiencing what in Hinduism we call purnyata, fullness. In Buddhism they speak about as shunyata, emptiness. But it's the same thing. Just two different ways of experiencing and explaining the same experience. Whether you are nothingness or everythingness, it's the same. In both cases, there is nothing distinct about you that is separate from existence. In that meditative awareness, the lover and the beloved become one. There is no separate experience. In the meditation, there's no duality. And so that's why they're separate practices, but of course they're connected because through my meditation I'm able to experience that presence of the divine in me, through me, that actually makes me more open to love, so that when I walk out of my meditation and I see a beautiful tree, or I see an image of Bhagwan Krishna or Shankar Bhagwan or Durga Ma or whoever it may be, I'm able to feel that presence of the divine so much more. And that worship comes from much more deep in my heart. So we can kind of flow between the dual and the non-dual, between a meditative experience of non-duality, of anchoring in just pure consciousness, pure awareness, pure light, and then a bhakti experience of love. And it's a beautiful pendulum swing. And you don't have to stick with one or the other, and they both strengthen the other. As long as you can just allow the mind to make enough space that both truths can coexist. Great. Yeah, come. We'll take this as our last question this evening. Yes.
Okay. I'm his translator, and I have a question for you.
Sure.
What teachings can help?
But just speak a little bit more into the mic so we can all hear you. Yes,
Yeah.
better. Thank you.
What teachings can help women to empower themselves from their vision?
Okay, now say that into the mic.
Oh, here. What teachings can help women to empower themselves from their vision?
What teachings can help women empower themselves? What was the last part?
From your vision.
Oh, in my opinion, in my vision. Okay. So which teachings, in my opinion, can help women empower themselves? Whether you're in the body of a woman or you're in the body of a man, or you identify as non-binary, either way, it doesn't matter. As long as you have a body of any gender. The most important teaching of empowerment, I believe, is the teaching of fullness. That whoever we are full. We are poured. We are whole. We are complete. We are not lacking in any way. We have been created by fullness, of fullness. We've never been anything other than fullness. And that awareness that, yes, I have a body. The body, of course, is going to have its challenges. We all have challenges in our bodies. Strong in some places, weak in other places, good at some things, not so good at other things. Some parts of us really healthy, other parts not so healthy. It's the nature of the human body. Especially after you're, 20, 25. The older you get, the more you realize that. But the spiritual teachings teach us you are not that body. Whether it's thin, fat, tall, short, dark, fair, beautiful by cultural standards, hideous by cultural standards, none of that matters. Because you are not that body. You are spirit. You are soul. You are consciousness. You are divinity. You are fullness. The body is what you have taken for this particular karmic incarnation. And along with the body comes all of the experiences and obstacles and challenges and things that the body goes through, the journey, the life journey, the karmic journey. But to remember you are not that. That's not who you are. And this is true, as I said, for everyone. I think as women, we are typically, not exclusively by any means, but typically, I think, judged more based on the body than men tend to be. I think there's a lot more leeway in a male body for a variety of shapes and sizes, whereas the expectation for a female body, I think, is much more of a narrow range of what counts as acceptable beauty. I think that women tend to identify not just as their body, but their roles. Mother, wife, daughter. I think there's a lot of pressure around these roles. What makes you a good daughter? A good wife, a good mother? I think there's a lot of complexes around I'm not good enough as a daughter, as a mother, as a wife, as a sister, whatever it may be. And again, of course, men have these as well. I'm not saying they don't. Just from what I've seen, I think it tends to impact, in general, women more than men. I think women tend to get a little bit more stuck in that than men do. So the teaching that you're not the body, you're not the role. You are full, you are whole, you are complete. And you are exactly the way that God intended you because God is perfect. And to really learn to feel that love for ourselves, if we can love God, well, then we have to be able to love ourselves as that creation of the divine creator. And stop allowing ourselves to be judged and suffocated and repressed and suppressed by culture, by society, by rules, by marketing. I mean, if you simply think about the number of hours a week that most women spend thinking about their physical bodies, their weight, their food, their hair, their skin, their clothes. The sheer number of hours that are spent about what's wrong with my body, what's wrong with my skin, what's wrong with my clothes, looking at other women, judging ourselves, that amount of time, if we didn't spend it thinking about our bodies and we actually spent it bringing about more change in the world, would transform the world in less than a year. We could cure world hunger. We could abate climate change. We could end poverty. I mean, think about the brain power, right? We've got 8-point-something billion people on the planet. Say that's 4-point-something billion women. You take those hours. It's a lot of hours. And that includes scrolling on social media, looking at other people and saying, oh my God, why is she so much more beautiful than I am? Oh my God, if I looked like her, then I would also be happy. I mean, it includes the whole game of everything that is focused on the body. If we stopped that, and we really realized we were not the body, our suffering would end. And the amount that we would be able to do in the world is phenomenal. And yet, I believe that there is a very strong energy in marketing, in advertising, in business, that is absolutely calculated to keep women hating their bodies so much that we do not have the time or the energy to bring about the change in the world that we could. Such that every single time we turn on our phones, we turn on a TV, we drive down the street and look at a billboard, we open a magazine, whatever we were thinking, planning, envisioning, innovating, suddenly gets thwarted and stopped because, oh my God, I am so ugly. And I believe that there's a lot of energy in the world that specifically wants that to happen. And this is where, as women, as everyone again, but you asked about women, we need to say no to that. We need to reclaim our minds. People can put up whatever billboards they want. They can pay for whatever advertising they want. But we don't have to click here and buy now. We don't have to take it in. Just because it says it doesn't mean it's true. And to reclaim the power of our own minds and our own truth and our own faith, such that we rise individually and together, knowing the perfection of the self, anchored in that perfection, and then being able to share all of that love with the world. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. We'll start with your question tomorrow. कल आपकी क्वेश्चन से शुरू करेंगे. A beautiful, beautiful rest of your evening. A beautiful morning and day to our family joining us through this gift of technology. And I look so forward to being together again with all of you tomorrow. And so much love. So much love.